Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. I am incredibly excited to walk you through Part 9 of MLOps Mastery, the Complete Production Machine Learning Handbook. This whole series was put together by Virtualization Options LLC, which is a fantastic technology research and advisory group based right out of Colorado. Now, if you are in IT management, listen up, because this specific session was purpose-built for you. Today, we are tackling literally the biggest operational problem in machine learning today, bridging the production gap.
87%. Just let that sink in for a second. According to 2023 data from Gartner, 87% of machine learning models never actually reach production. That is a completely staggering failure rate. But here's the critical takeaway, and it's something you really need to internalize. These models aren't failing because the algorithms are bad. No, they're failing because of operational roadblocks. Things like data drift, reproducibility failures, and just these endless, tedious manual handoffs are completely killing deployment velocity before a single prediction is ever even served. Well, we're going to fix that today.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for solving this. 1. The ML production gap. 2. Why standard DevOps fails. 3. Core MLOps architecture. 4. Monitoring for degradation. 5. Governance and compliance. And finally, 6. Implementation strategy.
Section 1. The ML production gap.
First up, we need to establish the stakes here. Why should IT management prioritize building this operational bridge right this very minute? Well, it all comes down to measurable business value. For all the IT leaders tuning in, here is your rock-solid business case. Adopting mature MLOps practices isn't just about playing with cool new technology, it delivers a massive tangible return on investment. We are talking about 60 to 70% faster deployment times purely because you are eliminating those manual bottlenecks. You're also getting 50% faster incident response. That means cutting your mean time to detect and resolve model failures right in half. And honestly, perhaps most importantly, you achieve 5 times higher model reuse across your projects by tapping into shared feature stores and registries. This is exactly how you scale data science across an entire enterprise without having to scale your headcount at the exact same rate.
Section 2. Why standard DevOps fails.
You know, a lot of IT veterans assume they can just port their existing DevOps pipelines straight over to machine learning. Makes sense, right? But actually, that paradigm completely breaks down when confronted with the non-deterministic reality of ML. See, in traditional DevOps, code is deterministic. Run the same code, you get the same software app every time. But in machine learning, code plus data equals a variable model. If you have the exact same code, but your underlying data changes even slightly, you have a fundamentally different model on your hands. Standard DevOps pipelines were just never designed to handle this. For machine learning, your versioning absolutely must cover data, code, hyperparameters, and artifacts simultaneously. If you miss even one of those pieces, you lose complete reproducibility.
So what is the actual solution? It's MLOps. Think of it as a highly disciplined set of practices combining machine learning, DevOps, and data engineering to completely automate and standardize the full ML lifecycle. It's really about dragging your teams out of what Google defines as level 0 maturity, which is entirely manual, heavily script-driven, and pretty typical of early-stage setups, and transitioning them all the way to level 2. Level 2 features full CI/CD for ML pipelines, which means automated retraining, testing, and deployment, the whole shebang.
Section 3. Core MLOps pipeline architecture.
Let's look at the exact architectural blueprint required to automate your workflows and guarantee complete reproducibility across the board. A truly mature MLOps component chain follows a very strict linear progression. It starts with experiment tracking to log every single parameter and metric. Then, you pull from a feature store to ensure your data definitions are perfectly consistent. Next, your validated models go straight into the model registry, which acts as your ultimate system of record. From there, they are deployed out to your serving infrastructure. But wait, it definitely doesn't stop there. You must have monitoring in place, and that monitoring feeds directly into feedback loops. By architecting this exact, precise chain, you completely eliminate those error-prone manual handoffs between your data scientists and your platform engineers. It essentially becomes a seamless, automated factory.
But I want to ask you something crucial. What happens when your model's environment just changes overnight? Because deployment is not the finish line, guys. It is just the starting line. Once a model is actually live, it immediately begins interacting with a chaotic, ever-changing real world.
Section 4. Monitoring for silent degradation.
Now, what's really interesting here is that unlike a traditional software bug that throws a massive, loud error code, model degradation is completely silent. It's a silent failure. And unless properly tracked, these silent failures are going to directly impact your business KPIs before anyone even realizes there was a problem. There are 4 distinct ways a model can silently degrade over time. First up is data drift, also known as covariate shift, where the input feature distributions change. Imagine if your user demographics suddenly shifted. Then you've got concept drift, where the actual relationship between the features and the target changes. Third is label drift, which happens when the distribution of your predicted output shifts. And finally, schema drift, which occurs when an upstream pipeline unexpectedly changes a column type or just drops a feature entirely. Remember, this degradation is gradual. It's not an instant bug. You absolutely have to monitor for all 4 of these.
To catch that drift, you can't just rely on gut feelings. You need hard, quantitative thresholds. For example, a population stability index, or PSI, greater than 0.2, that should be a critical alert that automatically triggers your retraining pipeline. Meanwhile, if your P95 latency spikes to more than twice the baseline, that should trigger an immediate page to your site reliability engineers. And crucially, to measure all this effectively, you must design ground truth feedback loops from day one. You need delayed labels, like, say, confirming a transaction was actually fraud a week after it happened, feeding right back into your retraining datasets automatically.
Section 5. Governance, Security, and Compliance.
As AI becomes more and more integrated into everyday enterprise decision-making, the need for strict access controls and airtight audit trails, well, it's not just a best practice anymore. It is rapidly becoming a strict legal requirement. And the financial stakes for getting this wrong are absolutely staggering. Look at the looming EU AI Act, which becomes fully effective in 2026. For high-risk AI systems, we're talking credit scoring, hiring, healthcare, non-compliance carries penalties of up to 30 million euros or 6% of your global revenue. This underscores exactly why your model registry has to serve as your ultimate system of record for audit trails. You have to be able to prove exactly who approved which model, when they did it, and what evaluation evidence actually supported that decision. To make sure you're compliant, every single production model must have a model card stored safely in the registry alongside its artifacts. And this card needs a few mandatory fields. You must document the intended use and, honestly, just as importantly, the out-of-scope uses. You need the complete training data description and its exact provenance. You also have to show evaluation results broken down by subgroup to prove you've actively checked for bias. And finally, you have to clearly document known limitations and failure modes. If you follow this exact structure, your production models will be fully documented and, more importantly, legally compliant.
Section 6. Implementing your MLOps strategy.
All right, so we've covered the why and the what. Now let's give you decision makers an actionable roadmap on exactly how to start closing this operational gap. The first major hurdle IT leaders face is the classic buy versus build dilemma. If you decide to buy in to manage platforms like AWS SageMaker, Google's Vertex AI, or Azure ML, your biggest strength is speed to value and a much lower operations burden. But the trade-off is a higher unit cost when you start scaling. On the flip side, if you build using open-source tools like Kubeflow, MLflow, and Feast, you get ultimate multi-cloud portability and limitless customization, but you're going to face a significantly higher initial engineering cost. Whatever route you ultimately choose, the absolute most crucial point is this: standardize your toolchain. Toolchain proliferation is the #1 cause of MLOps technical debt. Pick one orchestrator, one tracker, one serving framework, and strictly enforce it across all your teams.
Once you've picked your tools, you need a measured, realistic implementation timeline. In the first 0 to 6 months, just establish the basics. Get your model registry solidly in place and eliminate those manual handoffs. From 6 to 18 months, that's when you automate your training pipelines and implement CI/CD for ML. Your goal here is less than a week from model approval to full production. Finally, in the 18 to 36-month window, you transition into a fully mature self-service ML platform with automated retraining triggers. By phase 3, you should be easily supporting 10 or more production models with minimal operations overhead. Ideally, we're talking less than 2 full-time engineers running the whole show.
So I'm going to leave you with this final thought. You have seen the roadmap, you understand the architecture, the very real risks of silent degradation, and the massive financial and compliance stakes at play. The technology and the methodologies absolutely exist today to bridge this gap, so the only question left is this: is your organization prepared to take immediate operational action to close the gap? Or will your next machine learning model simply be part of that 87% that never even see production? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer on MLOps Mastery. Go out there, start building those bridges, and I will see you in the next one.